The AIDS and Rights Alliance for Southern Africa is part of the HIV Justice Worldwide, a global coalition that campaigns to abolish criminal and similar laws, policies and practices that regulate, control and punish people living with HIV based on their HIV-positive status. Criminalisation of HIV is the unjust application of criminal and similar laws to people living with HIV based on HIV-positive status. This is done either via HIV-specific criminal statutes or general criminal or similar laws. In East and Southern Africa, 86.7% of the countries have such laws. For most countries, such laws are vague and overly broad. Where did it come from? Criminal law is used as part of national responses to HIV in several African countries. This is wrong and is based on fear with no basis in medical science. The World Health Organization Joint United Nations Programme on HIV and AIDS, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights all agree with eminent scientists around the world that criminalizing HIV is a barrier to the interventions that we know to be effective in preventing and treating HIV. HIV criminalization does not prevent HIV transmission by deterring or changing risk behaviors. It does not promote public health. In fact, criminalization reverses the gains in public health in the fight against HIV. And it promotes discrimination, results in stigma against people who live with HIV, driving them underground for fear of prosecution, making them feel unsafe talking about HIV, and discourages disclosure of their HIV status. This negatively affects their access to treatment care and support. Criminalization also affects sexual reproductive health rights, especially for women who face gender-specific discrimination and stigma. Women are also disproportionately affected, especially given that they are usually the first to know their status due to services such as antenatal care, and end up getting blamed for bringing HIV into relationships and resultantly suffering violence, coercion, and abuse. HIV-positive children are also forcibly driven underground and away from treatment care and support as a result of criminalization. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights, in its 2017 report, states that HIV criminalization is prone to violating human rights to liberty, security, health, privacy, access to justice, and non-discrimination. What should government and civil society do? The Global Commission on HIV and the Law is an independent body convened by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, on behalf of the Joint United Nations Programme on HIV or AIDS, UNAIDS. The Global Commission on HIV and the Law, in its 2012 report, recommended that countries should repeal existing laws that specifically criminalize HIV transmission, exposure, and disclosure. Governments should do away with overly broad criminal laws and invest in programs known to reduce HIV transmission and initiatives that are grounded in evidence, science, and human rights. In doing this, governments will help protect the rights of people living with HIV, will strengthen health services and policies to empower people to prevent HIV infection, and promote the provision of information, products, and services that will help people avoid the risk of infection and reduce exposure to HIV for those at risk. This is possible without resorting to criminal and punitive laws. The time is now for countries in East and Southern Africa to repeal such impugned legislation. The time is now for countries to move in earnest in a region free from HIV criminalization.